Christ is the visible image of the invisible God. He existed before anything was created and is supreme over all creation. For through him, God created everything in the heavenly realms and on earth. He made the things we can see and the things we can't see, such as thrones, kingdoms, rulers, and authorities in the unseen world. Everything was created through him and for him. Let's just pause right there. Jesus' arrival allows us to see the invisible God. Jesus almost, it's like he pulls back the curtains and says, you want to know what God, your Father's like? You want to know what his heart is? Then look at me. Like, Jesus is God with skin on. He makes the invisible visible. He tells us that Jesus has always existed, and he has no beginning. That his life on earth began as a baby in Bethlehem, but Jesus had been alive like forever in heaven. Like, that was not the start of his existence. And as God, Jesus created everything, and he's greater in power than everything. In verse 16, he is supreme over all creation, for through him God created everything. This is why Jesus came that very first Christmas. It's all about a reunion. It says this, that Jesus' death on the cross allows broken relationships to be healed. That was his mission. Verse 20 says he made peace with everything in heaven and on earth by means of Christ's blood on the cross. That's why he came, to make peace. It's a miracle that God would break into our infected world that has, with all of its good points, has a lot of challenges, and that Jesus would come and say, I'm going to bring an answer to the problems of the world. C.S. Lewis, the one who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, in a wonderful little book called Miracles, he writes about the incarnation, the arrival of Jesus, which the fancy word for that is the incarnation. And he says, the central miracle asserted by Christians is the incarnation. They say that God became man. It was the central event in the history of the earth, the very thing that the whole story has been about. So who is Jesus? He's not just a baby like any other baby, although he was a real baby, but he was God who had always existed, the creator. And when he came to bring peace. He came to bring a family together. If that's who Jesus is, then who are you? And how does Christmas relate personally to us? In verse 16, it says this, everything was created through him and for him, which includes you and me, that we were made by Jesus and for Jesus. Now, we don't often think about this. Like, we'll go like, oh yeah, I was born like at Fairview Hospital, grew up in Parma, and I went to Bowling Green or something like that. And you sort of view your life as on sort of like what you can see. But if you step back a little bit, it says here that you were ultimately like you were an idea of God's. Like he wanted you to be born. And not only were you made by him, but you were made for him. This includes you who once were far away from God. You were his enemies, separated from him by your evil thoughts and actions. So you and I, just to back up here and look at the big picture, we were made for a relationship with God. That's the good news. The bad news is that relationship is torn apart. We're all born in this broken relationship with God kind of state. And what we experience at some point is, even if life seems okay for some of the time, at some point we go, there must be something more. There's like an ache in our soul. And even if people look at us and they say they've done well in work and financially they're doing okay and they're providing, we in the inside go, is this all there is? The kind of relationship that God wants that used to be intact, then got broken, and there was no way we could find our way out. And so that very first Christmas, Jesus came to make possible the best reunion ever. God has reconciled you. It means he brought you back to himself through the death of Christ. And as a result, he has brought you into his own presence. He makes a reunion with God possible. You see, my sin and my guilt and your sin and your guilt demand a high price. That whole thanks but no thanks to God means that someone has to pay for that. There has to be like a sacrifice. And what Jesus did when he came is that he said, I'm willing to come and I'll pay the price for your sin and your guilt. And so he would go to the cross and he would shed his own blood so that our relationship with God could be brought back together. That's how much God wanted a relationship with you and me. He loves family reunions.